People want to do this. This bill is dog whistling. It'll do nothing.
Tracy Martin.
On behalf of New Zealand First, to speak on the Social Security Benefit Categories and Work Focus Amendment Bill. New Zealand First will not be supporting the bill, but that is not because we don't believe the Minister truly has an intent as what is described inside this bill. It is merely because we have grave fears that some of the measures inside the bill will have a negative downstream impact that have not been appropriately addressed at this time. New Zealand First believes that the welfare system of our country is a safety net, not a hammock. And I remember the first time I actually met the Honourable Paula Bennett, we were both speaking at a political engagement in 2008 at Te Atatū. It was one of the most volatile political engagements I had during the whole of any campaign that I have been part of, partly because the Honourable Tauhanare was in the crowd, racking it up. But where we made a point of contact, Minister, was when I told of my great-grandmother and the loss of my great-grandfather and their small child in the influenza epidemic here in New Zealand, and how that woman had then had to put her two small daughters in with the nuns down in Wellington while she went to find herself a husband, because there was no support. There was no way to look after her two small daughters, 5 and 3, if I recall correctly, while she resorted her finances. And you and I both agree that's not a place where we want to go back to. That's nowhere near where this bill is trying to go. That is not the point. However, when I read the parts of this bill that deal and merge the widow's benefit, for example, with the work ready benefit or the work focus benefit, I have concerns about women such as my great-grandmother and those small children who lose their father and their husband. And then there is a subjective process about when are they ready to come back. And so it does concern me. It concerns New Zealand First around some of the subjectivity that can be inside. What is outside your control, Minister, this is going to be at the front line. So that is something, as you say, that the proof will be in the pudding. But New Zealand First is concerned that it hasn't been addressed appropriately, or the safety net hasn't been addressed appropriately here. We also agree that there is a social contract in this country. Nobody gets something for nothing. We all work hard, and we should all work hard for the benefit of our country. But that is different from the term social obligation. The social obligations that have been placed inside this bill start to direct and start to impact on a parent's ability to make choices and decisions for their children. And it is a concern to New Zealand First that the social obligations start to push a person who has found themselves in a place of requiring support from their country, that they start to lose the ability to make those choices for their own children. And some of that is around the well child checks. New Zealand First has always been a proponent for well child. If I remember correctly, I think it was our policy that started it. But we were not asking for people to be forced into a situation of immunising their children. And yet again, there is a requirement, a subjective requirement, that they make a fully informed decision, that somebody on the front line can decide they have not made it fully informed, and therefore they can penalise them. That is a concern to us. One of the reasons why, Mr. Bennett, I think everybody here cares, sir. One of the reasons why the social obligation as opposed to the social contract is so important is New Zealand First has a policy, and again it's based on that concept that if your country supports you, you should be doing something to support your country, and that is our community wage policy. So there is a constant call, where is the work? And I don't think that the government, while we have all this political rhetoric, I don't think that the government denies that we are in a time, let's say it's the global recession, we are in a time where it is a very tight job market, a very tight labour market. But we want people to continue to have that work ethic. We want our young people to continue to get up in the morning and believe that you have to go out and do for your country and do for your community. That is why New Zealand First would have liked to have seen some sort of positive social contract engagement inside this bill. something built around what is our policy of the community wage, where there's many organisations that require voluntary labour. And for 20 hours a week, for you to gain your community wage or your workforce benefit or whatever the title is, you should have to, Mr Chair, Mr Chair, Mr Chair, Mr Chair.
Maroney.
Mr Chair. Thank you, Mr Chair. This is not a pleasure to stand and rise.